everyone. Hello everyone at L3AI. Welcome to the big wide world of conferences in this format at this given time. I'm Brynn Chadwick, and I'm the lead conversational designer at NIB Health Funds. We're a health partner in Australia, in Newcastle, Sydney. But today I'll be sort of talking to you about our sort of appetite for conversational experiences and how we've sort of learned to grow them over time, and specifically the big learnings of taking away during this global pandemic we're all going through, and what we've learned from that training data and that NLU and that design and development, all those good processes and business processes that have sort of helped us shape the way we've sort of build our chatbot experiences and voice experiences going forward into the future. So let me get into it. I'll just share my screen briefly. So scaling a chatbot during COVID-19. This has been a very interesting time for us at NIB, and I'm sure the entire world. And I'm sort of going to show us how we sort of get into this and how we've started scaling a chatbot across multiple touch points for our members, but also how we've learned to scale this through these times and what we've learned through the array of different inputs that we've had from business processes to member conversations and things about the word COVID-19 and coronavirus I've never even heard before, because it's definitely shaped the way we sort of understand and how we've sort of helped design, develop and grow this conversational experiences at NIB. This is Nibby, our dear friend, our chatbot, you could say, our voice bot, or our digital assistant that helps sort of talk to our members at every touch point and everywhere and where they need to be. Web, mobile, app, Messenger, WhatsApp, WeChat, voice, telephony, wherever they sort of need to be, we've sort of used Nibby as that one consistent experience and one consistent relationship that our members can have with NIB. That's sort of that health partner that you use to support you at every touch point. And the beauty behind this little Nibby is a sort of a wide variety of teams. You have engineering, you have sales, you have marketing, you have health empowerment engagement, you've got product managers, developers, clinical experts, content specialists. You have really a big team that helps sort of support us in this journey. And I think the good part about scaling the conversational experience takes a wide, diverse team to help scale it in the first place. And if you can see here, this is actually the second birthday we had for Nibby last year to sort of celebrate this little conversational robot experience, if you will. So I think it's important to have this behind it before we start thinking about those bigger technical pieces we have. And yes, everyone did sing happy birthday, and we did share some great conversations and some terrible ones that we've probably learned from as well. But it takes a team like this first. I think I have to briefly touch that NIB, we are a health insurance payer, and we're normally involved at the end of the process. You get sick, you go to hospital, you make a claim, and then we provide and pay out that experience for you. But really at NIB now, we're really moving into this phase of trying to be a health partner, and how do we support you on your journey to better health? Help you more earlier on, make those right decisions in your own personal lives so that you never even get sick, never have to go to hospital, never even have to make a claim in the first place. So we really use that as sort of the core ethos behind empowering people with technology and those health experiences to do so. I'll briefly touch on our journey today. It was started many years ago, 2017, and it was a real small proof of concept. It didn't have a lot of intents or utterances behind it, but it sort of was a proof of concept that people were really enjoying engaging in these chat conversations, and that's how they wanted to interact with us as a brand. We're able to provide some level of self-service, and what we call deflection rate is maybe about 30%. 30% of the time, people were using these online tools like our mobile app or our online services, or accessing basic content web pages to service and learn about how to change their cover, or making a claim, or changes to their policy and so forth. It did gain a bit of traction, and the team started to look into Alexa and Google Home experiences and how we could create an experience where in your home you could say, hey, Alexa, can I speak to Nibby? Where is my local optometrist, or where is the closest dentist to me? And those sort of home experiences would help ping, push to your mobile, and then help you find someone within our first choice provider network. With that sort of success, the business decided to invest more into a team and actually really build out this team of what we call the digital assistance teams. We got myself and Dom, Helen, Yang Mei, a series of developers, one or two data scientists, machine learning engineers, product manager, and sort of head of sort of emerging technology as well. So sort of with that sort of solid team behind it, we really sort of gave some traction and roadmap and delivery behind this conversational experience. And sort of up till today, we've actually managed to help people self-service at about 50%. The bot has a lot more in-depth conversations. It can have a series of conversations now. It can talk across multiple intents, and it can ingest a series of different pieces of information, not just utterances anymore. So around that, it's sort of actually helped us build up other teams around us. So it helped us, work with our customer experience team who really understand the voice of the customer. And then it also helps us work with the contact center, that first line, to our customers real time and learn from real conversations as we sort of make those decisions growing. And obviously emerging technology, the team who's sort of playing around with the bits and pieces and developing the code and designing the flows as we moved along. And today that's had over 250,000 conversations. So quite large for us, but surely that's grown since then. We sort of have this idea about, we call it the strategic vision, that Nibby is everywhere you need to be, and as a member, we need Nibby to know who I am. It needs to protect me and my health. It needs to connect me with the right products and connect me with the right tools, and also empower me to take control of my health as I'm sort of navigating that journey on my own. And it also helps us use those different tools and those different touch points, whether it be Messenger, WhatsApp, WeChat, Apple Watch, web, mobile, wherever we find best, wherever is best suited to us. You should be able to have that same consistent conversation with Nibby going forward. We could say the same also for our technical vision. We want Nibby to talk to all our members across a range of touch points, WhatsApp, WeChat, Messenger, voice experiences like telephony or like Google Home or Amazon Alexa. Should be able to talk to us via Apple Business Chat, web chat, and so forth. So we really want to start building up this idea of having a consistent NLU, this one brain of Nibbies, that no matter where you're talking to Nibby ingests the same amount of information and can deliver it to us through a custom API layer with one core NLU training place. Sort of to be able to do both the strategic vision and technical vision, we sort of have this basic product development idea, like everyone knows is the classic build, measure, learn. And for us, it's really about analyzing real-time conversations, clustering those bits of data, looking at these topics that people are talking to us in real time, and being able to report really consistently on that. I won't be able to show too much of some of that stuff today, but I will be able to show little snippets and how we sort of get to those conversations. Conversational design is obviously a big one for us, and that user experience and being able to prototype and ideate on those new experiences as we build them out. If there's a new way of ingesting payment information, how do we prototype that or tech spike that quite accurately in a new way and validate that with our customer in real time before pulling that back into a big database or the big main brain where they can have that conversation wherever. From a development standpoint for us, agile product development is really sort of at the forefront of us and keeping a consistent deployment, continuous delivery, of course, but being cloud-based and secure and being able to know that we can take care and we can scrub and we can look after everyone's private information, as there's some very sensitive topics people can talk about, considering it's their health and what's nearest and dearest and closest to them and their family. Nibby's brain in a visual, it's really hard to see here, and I almost apologize for throwing this slide in, because if we could zoom in, and maybe one day I can show you, but for now, there's a lot of conversations that happen here, and these necessary place for content, but these also are a place for the user to create their own stories. And for us, this isn't all the flows. This is what Nibby can talk about in context, and we allow the user to create those flows for us, and we use that real-time data to train them back and create those new conversations iteratively as we go. So I guess while we're all here, Nibby recently got quite unwell and quite sick. We started failing a lot. The builds weren't working. The training wasn't always working. Nibby was responding quite weirdly to people. We're like, why is Nibby failing on conversations that used to seem quite simple? And as the world changed, and earlier this year, we started to see everything change very rapidly, even from the reason why we're having this conference like this today. So Nibby did struggle with these conversations initially, and got sick, and he did struggle with coronavirus, but we were wondering why. From our business, they started sending out multiple lines of comms to people. What we're doing for frontline healthcare workers, how you can work from home, health services, check out the way we look after people, telehealth services, online classes, moving our premium prices. Premiums weren't changing it like they would every year in April this year. Now they're changing in October. A range of communications changed out to our members and the wider community, as well as employees. So naturally, the conversations we were receiving all of a sudden made Nibby very unwell. Initially, what we thought, we build an intent, as we do. There's a new conversation that's being had. We build an intent about coronavirus. We say, hey, this is coronavirus, and this is the intent, and this is where you can look for help and information. So much so we're unsure that, forgive me here, all the UXers and designers out here, we actually stuck a button in the top window of our chatbot so you could click it like a web app. I know, cardinal sin there, but it was sort of that frontline response, because we weren't ready to ingest that amount of information to be able to train our NLU on all these varieties of COVID conversations. So we started there, and in April, we had a small percentage of conversations that were about coronavirus. Great, 531 people were starting to be serviced at a low level. They're getting at least to an FAQ page, and if not, to an agent, to a contact center, to be able to speak to someone about that. But what we noticed is Nibby still was getting sicker, was if not getting more sick now. Even though we thought we've added coronavirus intent, Nibby should know what coronavirus is now. There's an intent there. People are able to ask questions, people are able to click the button and, go to coronavirus. But we were wrong. And I spoke with our one of our data scientists who were working at the time, and I said, how can we figure out the conversations that aren't happening? We can see all these intents and where they're going wrong, but I want to look at what is going wrong and what are those topics that people are talking about. So someone created us a clustering model. And what it allowed us to hear is obviously see the spike in conversations as we go through March into April, but it also allowed us to group what all these different topics actually are that they were talking about out of the unmatched conversations, or the conversations that were making Nibby sick. This was a clustering model to show us what they were talking about. And what quite uniquely we found is coronavirus, or COVID-19, actually crossed over 12 different intents. So coronavirus sadly wasn't its own intent. It was actually, now in hindsight, it makes a lot of sense. Coronavirus is a part of everyday conversations for our members in a range of places that already actually even existed. Am I covered, suspend my cover, cancel cover, add or remove hospital cover, all very simple intents that we've had for a long time, but a lot of them were failing based on the training data we're providing it. So what we did is these clustering models now allowed us to show groups in all these different areas of where coronavirus was used in each single intent, which then sort of allowed us to add that training data back in to each of these new intents. And quite surprisingly, make Nibby starting to get a little bit healthier. So Nibby went back to school and Nibby started to learn, and we found Nibby was starting to get up to speed on these conversations. And now, naturally, a lot of training data of ours, over 12 or so intents, now has coronavirus involved in it, and it hasn't really become its own intent. And as a first line of response, it was, and it worked all right just to drop a button in and drop one intent. But as we sort of learned to scale back out and scale those conversations out to our members again, it was really important to focus on collecting that training data and putting it into those intents to help scale those conversations. So if you sort of look at the red circle on the left here, this is where everything started kicking off. And our sort of deflection or keeping people self-servicing was around 48%. And I got, we ingested so much conversation that month, around 30,000, that the level, our Nibby was failing at a high rate, and failing so much that we had to sort of start turning off the chat to our agents for one day and sort of funneling those conversations back to the contact center and advise people, hey, we've actually turned live chat off for our agents because we're just piling too much info in. We need to just sort of get on the telephone and sort of accelerate and sort of escalate those conversations at a faster rate to the phone call, which is a lot easier to funnel into our contact center, as that's primarily where people are trained in. So as you see that top spike where that red circle is, around then is when we sort of turned off the chat for 1 or 2 days due to our workforce planning being overloaded. But then creating a good plan with them and training the bot back on those conversations around collecting all those COVID-19 topics and then funneling them back in to Nibby and then slowly turning chat back on. And we sort of gone out at a higher rate and then, around 60%. But it really took that work between us talking with the workforce planning, learning from those real-time conversations, building that clustering model, retraining that training data against Nibby, then deploying it back out in a safe manner, learning to talk about coronavirus across a series of topics. I guess sort of what's next for us is, this is a little example of what we use as state design. So we sort of talk about, you can ask to change your cover at NIB, and then we respond to you. Green is the website, so very unauthenticated state. Yellow is our authenticated online portal, and red is our response with inside a mobile app. Blue is a transfer to agent queue when needed. But for us moving forward, telephony is sort of that next place, and how we design for that. Our customers should be able to ask these conversations and ask the same question no matter what. So it's really about how we design for each level and each authenticated state for our members, so we can provide a consistent experience no matter what your platform is. And that's it for me today. If you want to talk more in depth, I know I probably went quite fast through quite a lot there. But if you want to reach out, my email's there, b.chadwick@nib.com.au. Or you can always reach out on LinkedIn with my name, Brynn Chadwick. So I look forward to listening to all of your talks as well, and I hope we get to chat further about this and learn from how all of you have dealt with this stuff in the past and how we can learn and grow as a community together. So thank you. I hope that was helpful and you enjoyed the talk.